Hi, welcome to The Real Generation Gap. I'm Rudy Ruiz.
I'm Fred Satilli.
And today we're going to be talking about the 1966 comedy, The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. So this film was directed by Norman Jewison and stars Alan Arkin, Carl Reiner, Eva St. Marie, Brian Keith, Jonathan Winters, John Philip Law, and many other folks. I'm not going to name them all right now. So this story follows a Soviet submarine during the height of the Cold War that runs aground off the coast of a New England island. What should be a simple kind of fix of nine Soviet soldiers going onto land to find a boat to get out of their predicament turns into a mass hysteria where all the town folks believe that now they are being invaded by the Russians. So this is my first time seeing this. This was one of your picks.
Well, first of all, nice introduction.
Thank you.
I don't know why you thought it was going to be tough. You laid it right out really, really well. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I was a little worried about that.
This is a boomer pick in a major way.
Yeah,
you know. And I've seen this movie many times, you know, like every decade, you know, just for the last 5 or 6 times or whatever. I laughed my head off every single time when Carl Reiner is tied up with the woman and from the phone thing, and they have to go down the stairs together, and that. I mean, I just find that funny every time. And Jonathan Winters, he's Jonathan Winters. I mean, you just look at him and you start laughing. You know, he had that Belushi ability of just making a face that would make you laugh.
For God's sake, why is it we can't learn to live together? You're right, Norman.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that till you mentioned it earlier. He has a lot of just facial features and characteristics he can do. There's a lot of nuance in there, which
I think all the voices in his head come right out through his face. You know,
right?
That guy was a one-of-a-kind guy. You know, but anyway, I was glad that you mentioned John Philip Law, Alexei Kolchak, and he's a really handsome guy, and he was like a bodybuilder, like he had a terrific physique and stuff. And I know you don't know anything about this, but he was the blind angel in Barbarella.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that movie, but I saw that was one of his credits.
The tragic day when you waste your time watching that will probably come somewhere along the line. Yeah. But to seeing him and realizing that he was him was kind of, and those are pretty much his 2 biggest things.
Yeah, there's one movie I know him from where I was like, oh, it's that guy, and it's Death Rides a Horse with Lee Van Cleef, the spaghetti western.
That's right.
I was like, okay, that's that guy, and it's only 1 year apart, but I didn't even recognize him. But yeah, and then I saw Barbarella, the credit, but yeah, I haven't seen that movie yet.
Where did you see that in the credit? Like, how did
I mean, IMDb. I was just looking at his filmography.
Yeah, right.
See what he was in.
Yeah, he's the incredibly handsome blind angel. Anyway, you know. But I love this movie. I recommended it. It's a Cold War movie. The thing that you mentioned made me laugh, that you didn't realize Alan Arkin was the Russian. Yeah. For a couple of minutes.
It took me a second.
Usually that's me.
Yeah.
Like I'll be watching, I'll be 45 minutes into a movie and go, that guy looks like George Clooney to me. It's like, that is true. How did you didn't realize that the minute you saw him or something, you know? And I guess I'm bad with faces or something, but yeah, to me, he was the star of the movie. There was a submarine commander who was a real hard-nosed guy, and he sent Alan Arkin and 8 other soldiers. He sent them into the town to try to find a big power boat that they could hook up. You know, so when he gets there, he says to Carl Reiner, he says, "I need the boat." He goes, "Oh, there's no boats here." He goes, "This is an island."
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's the beginning of the frustration, because the movie, there's lots of ways you can see this movie, but one of them is there is one man who's the voice of reason in an absolutely insane world. All he wants to do the simplest thing. Just let me borrow the boat. I got armed men. We're going to machine gun everything. We have a submarine that could shell your whole town. We just want to borrow a boat, drag this thing off the sandbar. He says, "Well, why did you come here and get stuck on the sandbar?" And he says, "The commander wanted to see America."
Right.
You know, why? Why? He's like, "Because we have never seen it."
Yeah.
You know, it was a very innocent thing. And up in that area, in the whole East Coast, these sandbars exist. You're from California. The United States is moving towards Japan geologically in millions of years. They'll crash into each other, right? So it's the way California is, it's a wall that's moving and it's piling up as it moves westward. The East is dragging out. The beach, here the beach, you go 10 feet in, you're up to your neck. In New England, in Virginia, and places like that, Virginia has the Outer Banks where the Wright brothers were. You walk hundreds of feet out, you're up to your waist because the continent is dragging along and it's leaving this big sandy trail behind it, kind of like a slug trail, you know? And that's why it's a very, very different geography. So you got to be careful boating in the east that way. Here it's, you know, from here to Catalina, it's just deep water. Yeah. There's no reefs or anything. There's nothing like that. But in the east, that sand moves. There's places where it'll build up. And you'll see somebody standing 100 feet out there up to their knees in water. In between, it might be 15 feet deep, you know, and that sand just piled up there. Like the tide brought it in, and that's going to wash out. So the submarine gets grounded. And the classic tagline from the movie, I don't know if you realize it was such a big tagline, was at one point, they have to move through the town, and Carl Reiner says, "We're in a clothing store. Just put on these regular clothes, take your Russian uniforms off, and you just walk through the town. Nobody will even know." So they're trying to speak English, and they all decide to tell anybody, "Emergency! Everybody is to get from street."
Yeah.
And of course, when you say that, everybody immediately comes out, right? Like the whole town, you know.
Emergency! Everybody together. Street. Yeah. Emergency. 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 Молчи. Emergency. Everybody to get from street. Emergency. Everybody to get from street. Хорошо. Emergency! Everybody to get from street.
Hey, Mom!
So that was when that movie was out, people were walking around saying that. And that was a really, really funny thing. They get beached, and they come up, and there's a house way out in the middle of nowhere. And it's a New York comedy romance screenwriter or Broadway show writer or whatever. And his wife, they're spending the summer there. And he's supposed to make a Broadway show while he's there. He's supposed to type it up or whatever. And then the end of the season is coming. They're going to go home. They're packing to go home. And now the Russians come to the house. Now, when this is happening, he's got a young son who he sees them coming first. He says, "Dad, there's a bunch of soldiers. There's guys with machine guns. Look, son, we're trying to move. We're trying to pack." He's, "Yeah, you don't believe anything." You know, then when they show up, it becomes realistic. He's like, oh my God, these guys are holding my family with the weapons and everything, right? But they're telling him, "We don't want to hurt you. We just want to get the boat and go. You're not in trouble. We're not, this is not, you know," but they get nervous. But the little boy is phenomenal. "They're Russians. Don't tell them anything. They're going to torture you. You will try to kill them. We'll have to kill them." And Alan Arkin's like, "Great little boy.
Yeah.
Good little boy. You're smart little boy."
Yeah.
You know,
we're Norwegians.
Right,
Yeah.
They totally don't buy that.
Yeah. I feel like that kid was a little funny in the beginning for that, but for me, he became insufferable as he kept going on about, you know, all that.
Yeah, he really persisted.
Yeah. But like that, the parents are just kind of blowing him off. And then there's one point when they're at the breakfast table and he's like, "All right, I told you." And then he just walks out.
When they leave, "You let him get away.
Yeah.
You helped him. You're a traitor," he tells his father, you know. "How could you do that?" You know? And but even no gas in the car. They said, we have to take your car and go to the harbor. He goes, "Oh, there's not much gas in the car." And Alan's like, "Yes, of course there's not much gas in the car." Then, you know, a mile away, they run out of gas.
Yeah.
They got to walk the rest of the way. Now, something that you probably didn't realize, but it's important to me, is that all the rest of the people in this movie were in Star Trek episodes. That little boy was in an episode where Captain Kirk meets Al Capone. And the little boy's on the street, and he says, "I'll create a diversion, and you can go in." He's like a tough kid on the street. He's the same character, though. He's a mouthy little brat, you know? And it's like, that's him. That's the kid. And even the young blonde girl, Allison Palmer, she's even Yeoman Smith in 2 episodes of Star Trek. You know? And really cool episodes, too, by the way. It was 1966. They were making Star Trek.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like those people.
Yeah.
You know, like
I'm sure that was the show to be on too. Like every actor is cycled
very
through
much.
there.
A lot of people wanted to be in that. That little boy did not have a film career after that. Like he just went to USC, had like a biology degree or something, and went on to become a dentist.
Well, okay.
You know, so you would think if you were a child actor,
Keep going.
I'm always amazed when that doesn't happen. You know?
Yeah.
Like something happens, the family gets tired of it, or maybe there's a problem. And we know in Hollywood with young actors, there's a lot of between pedophilia and drug problems and stuff.
Right.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah. Parents exploiting them for money.
Right. And so, it
can go bad real fast.
Yeah, it's kind of good when you have a normal life after that. You make a movie and then, but you think you'd make a comeback or something. But, we've had Danny Bonaducci, so we don't want that, But anyway, the whole Star Trek connection makes me laugh.
One character I like to, you talked about how the Alan Arkin character is like the one that kind of has his head on straight, and I feel like Brian Keith, who's like the ship Maddox, the kind of sheriff of the town, up until the end, is he's the other one that is like the only sane person, right? Just like Alan Arkin.
He's like has anybody seen any of these Russians?
Yeah, like, all right, we're gonna go to this airport where they say they parachuted in, and no one's there.
They go out to the airport. And the mechanic working on the plane is Michael J. Pollard.
Yeah,
who always has a runny nose. He was in a Star Trek episode. In Miri, that episode Miri,
But, he's always butting heads with the, this older vet guy. I forget what his role was, but the one who's super gung-ho.
Yeah, he has the commemorative sword.
With this militia, when he just snaps it in half. I love that when they're just, getting angry and he keeps calling them out for, there's nothing here. No one's saying anything. And the one moment where he gets really silly, and I thought this was like a little funny, is when they're all at the beach and the sub's there and the captain is out and they're having to sit. They got the big machine gun on them. They're all there, and Alan Arkin's translating. And when he's like, "Well, tell him he's under arrest," and he takes his
he's going to write a ticket.
Like, he's just explaining it to him, and he like doubles down on it.
You come here, you upset everybody, you damage property, you're under arrest. The submarine guy's, I'm going to shell your whole city. I'm going to blow this whole place off the map, because that was not a machine gun, that was a cannon.
Right.
That deck gun was serious.
Some real firepower.
But you could see that the Russian soldiers were all on the deck. The Russian sailors were all out of the deck on the submarine. And all those townspeople had rifles and shotguns. And that guy with the deck gun, he knew that there was 100 guns trained on him. And Brian Keith said, "Oh, go ahead and open fire, see what happens." And that's calling people's bluff. That's a hard, that's a real...
When you got a lot of civilians behind you.
Yeah. But the ending of the little boy hanging from the thing must have been a real surprise to you. Never would have guessed that was going to happen.
That definitely, and their whole human pyramid to go up and get them.
Yeah, the sailors rescue them. The sailors, But way before any of that, every one of those comedy scenes, right, where they hung the lady on the wall sitting in the chair with the gag on, and her husband's there eating breakfast. He's deaf. He doesn't see her. She's, and then there's the lady with the motorcycle with the sidecar. Like some New England is like that. There's like crazy old people, and things are tolerated. In my own life, there was a guy, Cecil, and he had an antique car that didn't have plates or anything. He just never went out of town with it. He just went to the country club and back. On Sunday, he'd go out and get in a 39 Plymouth. He'd drive over to the country club, play golf, and drive home. The town all knew. There's no reason for that thing to have license plates. Everybody in the whole town, the police, everybody, And so you have that. You can never have that here.
Right.
So this is a place that's really like that. Like everything in the whole town is up for grabs.
Everyone knows each other. And,
the phone stuff. They have party line phone things. They're talking to each other on the phone. And, and I loved it the way Alan Arkin, the task guy from the submarine, the task master or whatever, he apologized to people all the way through. "I'm sorry we damaged your equipment. I never wanted to hurt anybody. I'm sorry we have to do this. We have to tie you up now. We try not to hurt you, or please." And the people are going absolutely berserk. They're terrified. They're screaming their head off, and
I thought in the end, and I was very disappointed for a moment, that he actually got killed, which would have made the most sense. But I was like, oh man, did they really kill him? Like Carl Reiner just machine gunned this guy. And then he goes to the window and we see that he'd survived. The line that you mentioned earlier, "Oh, are you hurt?" "No, just my dignity."
Oh yeah, nobody. Yeah, you scared me for a minute. Nobody got killed. Yeah,
yeah. No, I thought he did when I was watching it.
Shot him in the Volkswagen Beetle
until he came up, and I'm like, all right,
didn't
good.
You love it when he starts to drive off in the Volkswagen Beetle, and then he has to stop and get the great big dumb dog out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Like he opens the door, the dog won't go out. He's struggling with him. See, those kind of things, I love that. Those kind of little nuance, extra, like just the stupid things that would happen. That's a town where no one locks their doors. Right. Everybody just they go home and they know who, what are you doing out there? That kind of thing. So I thought it was really, really funny. I always do. I don't know. You and I come from a different place a little bit,
Yeah, for me, I mean,
did you see the cars on that island? Every one of them was a pile of junk.
Yeah.
Because you're at the beach.
Right.
And they're going to be. They're going to be and they're seasonal. These people all leave. Like, that's an island where in the summer, there's 10,000 people, and in the winter, there's 1,000 people. There's all renters and stuff just sits there until next season.
I remember Maddox even said something at one point, like, I thought all the crazies left after Labor Day or whatever.
And it was Labor Day, right. Now, the thing Maddox had to deal with, in addition to everything else, was his deputy was Jonathan Winters, who just all through the thing said, we have to get organized. I'm glad you caught that. Yeah, we have to get organized. And so he wanted to organize the people his way. And then there was a guy there who had some military experience, and he wanted to organize like a citizen militia to go out and attack the Russians. Meanwhile, there were no Russians. Somebody said, well, I called the airport and the line was dead. They must have paratroopers came in and took the airport. So they're like, Brian Keith is like, I'm going to drive out to the airport and see what's going on. We're all coming with you. I'm an authority here. This is my militia. Brian.
I did like how there's one point where he takes off. It's when they're having that standoff on the beach. When he takes off to go radio. Oh, so-and-so's got a radio. We're going to go call the Air Force in. And how he misses the whole thing with the kid and everyone's working together to save this kid. That is my favorite moment. And he just runs in like, hey, everybody, the airstrike's coming. I got him. Yeah, like what I missed.
I got through. The whole town hates him. He thinks the whole town is going to love him.
Right.
He's exultant. And he goes, the Air Force is coming. They're going to come. And people, the whole town, oh no, what are we going to do? And even the little brat kid says, we got to help him, Dad.
Yeah.
Like he's turned. Even he's turned.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. It's full of fun. It's like kind of like Mad World. It's just one joke after the other, one ridiculous circumstance after the other. It's just something where the problems just escalate and escalate and escalate. So in the end, the people realize the submarine is now broken free from the sandbar. And the guys who did steal the senator's boat, right? So some politician had the big fancy boat there, right, docked. The Russians took that one. At the end, the submarine commander said, my men are missing. I got 7 men that are missing. I'm going to shell the whole town if you don't turn them over. You're having them captive. They said, we don't have them. We don't know. So then all of a sudden they see him. They're bringing the boat to pull the submarine off, but the submarine had high tide had come and the submarine dislodged by itself, right? I told you the sand washes away. You can have this, right? All of a sudden they're free. And now they're waiting. They got to collect these 7 guys. And in the meantime, Alan Arkin is trying to smooth everything over. He's telling them, don't overreact, don't you overreact, don't anybody overreact. And then they see their guys coming. So now the American fighter jets fly over and they realize, the whole town realizes that, it's going to be bad. So they decide to surround the submarine with their own little fishing boats, and they're going to give it an escort out into deep enough water where it can submerge and get away. So the pilot says, I don't know exactly what's going on down there. We see the submarine, but it's being escorted by about 100 people in little boats. And what do you want us to do exactly? And he says, you know what, just come back to base. We'll sort it out later. And he says to the other pilot, he goes, what do you think of that, Charlie Brown? Which is what they would say.
Right.
People said Charlie Brown then, That was a heroic ending to the story. And I just love the movie. I think it's a must see, but I'm from a generation that would say that.
Yeah, for me the
I mean,
comedy,
can you imagine Frank over there watching this movie? Like, what's going on? What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the aspects of it, but the comedy for me is just pretty dated. Like there was another movie we talked about way early on where it was similar. I was like, yeah, I can see it, but it doesn't all work for me. Like there's little moments where I'm like, okay, you know,
that's cute.
I can smile at that, you know, but
cute.
it's not like, like laugh out loud for me. But I you
know, there's a scale when that comes. Now, when Mark Twain, he was like America's funniest guy ever. And he said things like, the stories of my death have been highly exaggerated. The whole country fell apart laughing. You know what I mean? It was like, that's comedy. Well, so now, you know, that wouldn't even be like, what?
Yeah.
You know, so there's a scale.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, there's certainly, and that goes for violence. It goes for nudity. It goes all that kind of stuff.
I do want to ask real quick before we wrap. I mean, you must have been like a kid when this came out, or like very
I was
young?
11.
Oh, you were 11. Okay.
Right.
You see this in theaters, and along with that, I mean,
my parents did.
Okay.
So this is very typical for me of movies like this, right? Where, you know, Easy Rider even, you know, I think I saw it in a drive-in. It would be like my mother and father would come home, and my mother would say, oh, we just saw this really funny movie. The Russians are coming. And then some amount of years later, it would be on TV one time, right? Like on some movie in the night, 9 at night or something, they're going to have this. And my mother, oh, yeah, I saw this. We're going to watch this. Like, you're going to see this really funny movie that because the audience will laugh out loud when this movie was on, you know, especially because the whole Cold War stuff and everything. It was really a big deal. So a lot of movies like this, I saw literally like on TV, on a black and white TV. That's why that one movie I said, this is black and white. And I saw this on a black and white TV originally. Yeah, so that's why I probably, somewhere in my teen years, I saw this on TV. And then somewhere in my 20s, I saw it on TV. Yeah. And then we had the Sony Betamax disc, you know, that we got for $1 when they were phasing out Betamax, and you could buy that stuff for, you know, for nothing. So yeah, that's my history with it.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, get some insight on how, I mean, obviously it was taken very well at the time, but I can appreciate when filmmakers make movies like that, because we're talking the height of the Cold War, right? And to make this comedy about this situation.
This is just after Dr. Strangelove.
You know, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really, you know, cool. I just like stuff like that. And I mean, obviously it did well. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role.
Johnny Mandel
to Alan Arkin.
This movie's got no music.
You know, Best Writing, which, yeah, this was based off a novel called The Off Islanders, which was written by, I think it was the father or the son. I'm mixing it up, but someone who's related to the person who wrote Jaws.
Okay.
So, yeah, based off a novel, like the father, son, and also nominated for Best Editing. It looks like it didn't get any wins, but it's cool. I'm glad that,
but it's an early Norman Jewison film, and look at the career he's had.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a filmography.
Yeah. I mean, he just passed away last year, I saw, and I've never seen In the Heat of the Night. I got to see that, but I was going through and I was like, all right, he did Rollerball. Rollerball is pretty good. Moonstruck. I haven't seen that in years.
Oh, that's a must see.
Yeah,
that's
it's been a long time.
We'll put that on our calendar.
All right, I'm down. I want to revisit it. I have seen it. It's been years though.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's cool. Yeah.
Cher at the height of her thing too. Right. You know.
Sure. What's your rating? If you're ready for that.
You know, yeah, I'm ready for that. And this is not one of those 10 ones, but for me, it's an 8, you know, it really is. And how do you feel? How does your generation feel?
Yeah,
you know?
I'm going to give it 5 just because the comedy didn't land for me. Yeah, I feel like it's more of a, you had to be there.
Definitely.
You know,
definitely.
Like, to really.
Well, that's my role in this show.
Yeah.
Is to show things to people that they would never see otherwise. You would have never even known about this.
Yeah.
Without my ridiculous recommendation.
And I can definitely appreciate the aspects of it, the filmmaking,
the hammer and sickle and the thing. I mean, you know.
Yeah, the actors and everything. It just, for me and in my time, my era, the comedy doesn't just is a little flat for me. But yeah, I mean, it was on YouTube. You know, it has ads, but it's free, so anyone can go check it out now.
And if you have the ad block thing,
there you go.
You just watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not too hard to find outside of that as well. But
right, and the other one that we did recently, we did the movie Rolling Thunder, and that was on Tubi.
Yeah,
and I just watched it one evening. 9 o'clock came around, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this now, and I really appreciate that. There's sometimes it's hard to find good stuff.
Right.
You know, and I don't know that I would have watched Rolling Thunder had you not recommended it. I would have gone right past it, like, Vietnam, or I lived through that. But yeah, I for me, it's nostalgia. That's probably part of my love of it. You know, you love things that are familiar, I guess. So anyway, that's it for The Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming. I'm Fred Satilli.
I'm Rudy Ruiz.
And we'll see you in the next review.